Chapter 7. The tour guide's hair was dyed purple, but just at her bangs. I wondered if her parents were really mad about that. She was very bouncy. I think she was even more excited than we were. I guess Elizabeth already forgot the part about not being rude, because before she could stop it, she blurted, "Where's my dad?" "He's doing his show, silly. And when he's done at 10 o'clock, he will show you all the inside of the actual radio studio. And you will each get the chance to sit in the host's chair." That's where we all oohed and awed. "Okay, class, let's get in line," Mrs. Pellington said. I took Millicent's hand with my left one and held my briefcase with my right. We followed the tour guide down the hallway. The tour guide's name was Tuesday. I had never heard a person named after a day of the week. This was very interesting to me, especially because Tuesday was not actually the best day of the week. Off the long hallway were some of the 20 offices that Mr. Sanders had told us about. I tried to peek and see what radio offices looked like, but we were walking too fast. All I saw was a tray with a stack of paper in it. When I got home, I had to remember to put a tray with a stack of paper on my desk. Finally, we stood in front of a huge glass window, and inside we saw Mr. Sanders wearing headphones and talking and laughing into a microphone. There was a machine in front of him with a lot of buttons, and Mr. Sanders pressed some, but not others. He looked really professional with headphones on. It was the most gigantic room ever. There was a big black sign, and in red neon it yelled, "On air." When I got home, I also had to remember to make an on air sign for my bedroom. The door to the studio was really thick and had a sign that read, "Do not open this door." There were so many things I needed to remember, but I was in pain because I really had to go to the bathroom. "We'll come back when the show is over, and then we'll go inside and Mr. Sanders will give everyone a chance in front of the microphone," Tuesday said. "Now, I want to give you a tour of the offices." How would I pay attention to all the offices if the only thing I could think about was how badly I had to go to the bathroom? Everyone started to follow Tuesday down the hall, and I raised my arm and Mrs. Pellington called on me. I waved my hand at her so she'd come over to me and I could whisper. When she bent down, I said very quietly, "I really have to go to the bathroom." She gave me a bothered look, but then called Tuesday over, who said the bathroom was just right down the hall. Millicent and I ran down the hall with my briefcase slapping against my leg, and when I opened the bathroom door, Millicent banged into it. Do you want to know why? Because she was reading while she was running. "Millicent," I scolded, "you are not paying attention." "I am too paying attention," she said. "But in the book, Jackie just told Joanna a secret, but Joanna got the secret wrong." Secrets interested me. Maybe Millicent could tell me the secret later when we weren't rushing. The bathroom was the biggest I'd ever seen. It was as big as the radio studio. There was an actual, real chair, like the kind we had at home in our living room. And there was a basket of makeup that was free. And another basket with candy. This made Millicent put down her book. Elliot was not going to believe this. I went to the bathroom as fast as is scientifically possible, and then Millicent and I went to catch up with our class. But when we came out of the bathroom, our class wasn't standing where it stood before. We didn't see anyone anywhere. I looked at Millicent, who looked just as confused as I was. "What should we do?" she asked. "I don't know." She grabbed my hand and we ran down the hall. As we neared the studio door, I noticed that it was open and no one was inside hosting the show. This was not a good sign, and I knew it. I looked at the clock and it said 9:45 a.m. That meant there were only 15 minutes left of the show, which meant it was the end of the show, which meant it was the call-in part of the show, the part where Mr. Sanders gave advice. Maybe my parents weren't the only ones who thought he wasn't good at this part of the show. Maybe someone told him and he got upset and left. What if he was crying by himself in his office? If that was the case, then who would do the advice part? I know that I give really good advice because sometimes my dad says to me, "Good advice, Bird." I felt sad Mr. Sanders was so upset that he had to leave his own show. But I also knew the saying, the show must go on. It couldn't go on without Mr. Sanders, though. Unless... I looked at Millicent, who looked stumpified. "We have to go in there to help Mr. Sanders," I said. "We're not allowed," she protested. "But it's an emergency," I cried. Mr. Sanders was going to really appreciate this. He'd probably give me my own radio show. I grabbed Millicent's hand and ran inside the studio. She closed the door behind us and looked really worried. "We're going to get in trouble," she said. I ran over to Mr. Sanders' chair and put my briefcase on the table. Then I clicked it wide open and took out the things that made me look workerish. I put the glasses with no lenses on my face, but they were too big and fell off. Then I sat in Mr. Sanders' chair, which was still warm, and put on his headphones. Those slid right off my head too, but I adjusted them so they'd fit better. When I looked over at Millicent, she had forgotten about getting in trouble because she was on the floor reading the last pages of her book. Just then, I heard a smacking sound. There was a man behind a glass window, and he had headphones on, too. He was banging on the glass and pointing. I gave him a big smile because I knew he was trying to thank me for saving the day. Just then, the phone rang, and I looked at Millicent. Should I answer it? Without looking up, she said, "Well, it is the advice part of the show." She was right. It was the advice part of the show. I had to press the blinking light. I had to answer the phone. As I reached toward the blinking light, there was even more banging on the window. Now a different man was making signals with his hands. He looked like an umpire in a baseball game. And since my dad watches baseball games, I know what the signals mean. When the umpire shakes his head no while moving a hand across his neck, it means you're out. That was what the man was doing now. He was saying that Mr. Sanders was out, which meant he was in big trouble. A different man was making the safe sign, which meant I was safe to answer the phone. I pressed the red blinking button. Then some people in the booth slapped their palms against their foreheads. Another guy put his head down on the table. They were really impressed. "Hello?" I heard my hello fill the headphones. I was a radio host. I was saving the day. I was on air. It was the best feeling in the entire universe. And that is not an opinion.